All right, everybody, welcome back to the Barefoot and Guapo show. We are loaded tonight. Special guests from all around the country. We have arguably the pound-for-pound best female fighter on the planet, Miss Seniesa Superbad Estrada, and among the best to ever step in the ring, one of my favorites growing up, Mr. Montell Ice Griffin. Welcome, sir. I love it. Love the enthusiasm. We're here tonight. This is kind of a new thing for us. My co-host, Mr. Guapo over there, Jason Scalzo, call me Barefoot. Our idea is to bring some unique perspective to the current day of current sports, or current time in boxing, rather. It's been a heck of a year, and we got a lot to look forward to moving forward. So,
Montell, I got a question for you real quick. I saw, how many amateur bouts did you have? How many amateur fights did you have?
I learned how to fight as a kid. I stopped when I was 12 years old. I came back at 21 and had 30 amateur fights when I made the Olympic team.
Because I saw that today and I couldn't believe my eyes, but I know you had some as a kid. I was looking at it and I couldn't imagine you only had that few fights, but you had a ton of fights as a little kid, probably.
Not a ton. I mean, there's really nobody my age, my weight. So I fought in a few tournaments. That's how I got I might have had between maybe 10, 20 fights. That's it.
That's amazing to make the Olympic team with that few fights. And then so I was going to ask you about that. And I don't know if nobody remembers this for some reason, but I remember watching those Olympics, the 92 Olympics. The bout he lost, they basically counted his punches for his opponent. And instead of just fixing it, they gave his opponent the win. His opponent wasn't a bad fighter, Torsten May. He went on to a decent career. But instead of just saying, like, we'll watch the fight, we'll fix it, we'll see what happened here, they just kept it and you lost. But you won that fight. And if you watch the video, you won. It was back then, it was just a clicker. You easily won that fight and you got ousted from the Olympics. And I mean, nobody ever talks about it, but it was one of the worst. It was worse than the other robberies. Unless I'm forgetting something.
I mean, my fight, they not only gave him my point when I hit him, they gave him a 3-point because they said my head was low and I'm 5'7". He was 6'5". And then I cut his eye open, which the fight should have been stopped. I cut his eye open. I hit him with a jab over the right hand because he was a southpaw. Bust his eye open, and the fight should have been over.
Yeah, I was watching it, and I thought this. I mean, they screwed you in 3 ways. I mean, I just never understand why it wasn't a bigger deal than it was. But you could have won the gold medal that year, realistically.
Well, yeah, I beat the silver medalist a month before the Olympics.
Yeah,
and I tortured I would have been the gold medalist, and it bothers me to this day that
it would bother me forever. It bothers me, and I wasn't even part of it. Yeah. Just watching it bothered me. Yeah, but and then the other thing you got is you have the 3 camps with Muhammad Ali that not many people could say. I mean, he was lucky enough to be in training camp with Muhammad Ali 3 times, and he just wrote a book, and that to me is a book in itself. He could write another book about that. But talk about your connection with Ali.
I was a kid. And this is it's kind of crazy. Me and my father will watch projector movies of fights. He showed me Joe Louis. He showed me Ray Robinson. He showed me Willie Pep. And I said, okay, yeah, they okay. Then one day he showed me Muhammad Ali. And the first time I saw it, I was 5 years old. It blew my mind. It just changed my whole outlook on life. Even though I was only 5, it changed my outlook on life. I thought that Muhammad Ali was the greatest thing that I've ever seen in my life. And
you probably still is, and you were right. Yeah. And then the other thing I want to talk about is if you do not think Tom Brady or Tim Duncan are 2 of the best athletes of all time, don't even get him started because you'll never hear the end of it.
I mean, yeah, but see, I don't argue and I don't debate with my heart. I just tell facts.
Yeah,
facts pretty much shut everything else down.
Well, I have some facts. I have some facts for you guys. The 2 of you are here for a reason tonight.
Let me give real quick. Give the things about Seniesa.
Well,
and then we'll go.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So Seniesa, everybody knew you before you turned pro. The 50 straight amateur wins in California that used to be pasted everywhere. I think you beat Shane Mosley's record, right? It was 50 straight amateur wins. Was it?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah,
It
I
was
had
50 straight.
over 100. I had over 100 amateur fights.
Yeah, but the 50 straight was the record that separated you from everyone else, and cemented your legacy. You had Paul Benke likes to tell the story, but you had a camera crew following you around when you were in the amateurs at 16 years old. It was like you knew we were destined for big things. Other things about Seniesa is she's in my will, and also she is not liking my Instagram post list, and I'm getting very upset about that. So I'm going to be watching that. Or yeah, I'm not happy about that. But and then as we know, Seniesa literally
talk about his will after the show,
literally with Seniesa. The one thing is this: people will come to you and say they have an aspiration to be the best at something that ever lived. She's the only person I know that actually says she wants to be the best female fighter that ever lived and actually have a shot at it. You don't have to laugh at her, but that's the last thing I'll say about Seniesa. So go ahead, Jay. Hit them up.
Thank you.
Well, hey, that's a heck of an intro. So this is a unique show because both of you have a unique perspective as to what we're going to be talking about. Obviously, there's a big fight coming up at the end of or next couple weeks. A couple of boxing legends are coming out of retirement. The two of you are on the show for different reasons, but similar. You both inspire inside and outside of the ring. And I want to start with Mr. Griffin. Reading up on Mr. Griffin, you had one of the most accomplished careers of anybody in your weight class. You beat James Toney twice. You gave Roy Jones his first loss. You had 50 career wins. Remarkable career. But one of the things I wanted to ask you before we get into any of the other stuff is there's a quote that I heard you say is that you gave boxing more than it ever gave you in return. And I was hoping that you can kind of expand a little bit on that. And if you've ever been able to, I don't know, recover from that or with your life after the ring, if you've ever been able to kind of grasp onto the purpose of your success.
I mean, over the years, I got older and wiser, and I still feel the same way, but I can control. Just like we were just talking about, the Olympics, like that. Not having that gold medal, like really bothers me. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But I just give you an example. I had found out that Roy Jones had beat Teron Millette, who a guy who fought with me in '92. And I called Roy. I talked to Roy. I said, man, I was like, man, I didn't know you fought Teron. He's like, yeah. And I said, I should have been in the amateurs fighting with y'all. He's like, yeah, your mother made you quit. I said, yeah. I said, it's crazy. I said, I quit boxing in 1983. I came back in 1991. I had my first fight in 1991. A year later, in 1992, I was #1 in the United States. That summer, I made the Olympic team. I turned pro with 33 amateur fights. I had 14 pro fights, and I beat James Toney. I said, Roy, I did that in 4 years. I said, that's Hall of Fame. From 1991 to 1995, I made the Olympic team, and I beat James Toney. 33 amateur fights and 14 pro fights. That's Hall of Fame. But
even still,
I don't get no credit for nothing.
And then when you were fighting Roy Jones, you were given all he could handle, and he knocked you down. He got the spot fight with a story. But I mean, watching the fight, you were absolutely in the fight.
Of course, I was beating Roy Jones. He was frustrated. You know what I'm saying? And the second fight, I wasn't even allowed to warm up. You know what I'm saying? If you want to find out about it, The Ice Life is my new book. You can get on theicelifebook.com. Theicelifebook.com will tell you everything that happened in my life. I got factual proof of everything. I got stabbed in the back 1,000 times. I didn't get a chance to warm up again for Roy Jones. The Olympics, I got robbed. I got robbed in fights before the Olympic team. You know what I'm saying? I should have turned pro undefeated. I should have been a gold medalist. You know what I'm saying? Everything. I beat James Toney twice.
Listen, if we can leave this conversation with one thing that I could tell you as a lifelong boxing fan, as a nerd for the sport, Mr. Griffin, you're one of the best I've ever seen. And I want you to know that from deep down.
Yeah, so there's no arguing that.
Whatever that means to you, I'm just saying I think it needs to be said. What you have in common with our other special guest is Miss Seniesa. You are also one of the best I've ever seen, and as a proud hashtag girl dad, I go down the road with my daughter all the time, and we go down Seniesa Estrada rabbit hole quite a bit on YouTube with your knockouts and all that stuff, and we play around with it. My question to you is: you're a young lady with a long career ahead of you, a lot of wins to wrap up, a lot of titles to get. How does it feel to really be that role model to inspire the little girls? I mean, and transforming them into the boxing culture that is otherwise not existing before.
Oh, it feels great. I mean, when I first started boxing when I was 8 years old, there wasn't not even close to the amount of girls, women who are fighting now. So I didn't really have anyone to look up to, any female to look up to. It's different than looking up to a male in a sport than it is a female, because if you see a woman who looks like you doing the same thing that you do, inspires you and then makes you think like, oh, she's doing it and she looks just like me. She's a female, I can do it too. And I never had that growing up. And it was really difficult, super difficult to even have over 100 amateur fights. Like, thankfully, my dad drove us all across the U.S. just so I can have one amateur fight, like so I can enter a tournament. And like sometimes we didn't have money to pay for flight tickets, and we would just hop in the van and drive all the way to Kansas or drive to wherever it was just so I can get one fight. And first turning pro, it was so difficult. My pro career was just off to a very slow start, because even a few years back, big promoters weren't signing any women. We weren't fighting on TV. But within the last 2 years, everything has just totally switched and done a whole 360. So, now being with Golden Boy Promotions, I just want to continue to represent women's boxing as best as I can and show that I am the best pound for pound. And I wish I could have fought for a world title, a few fights ago, because I've been ready. But now my next fight will be, so I'm just happy that I'll continue to, from then on, continue to get world titles and make it known that I'm the best in my division and in women's boxing in general.
No doubt. Well, that's great.
No doubt about that.
And it's great to hear from both of you. So, Montell, as somebody who's retired from the sport, who's gone through the doldrums, the ups and downs, what advice would you give someone like Seniesa, who's kind of in the thick of? So we had the quarantine, we have canceled fights, we have Golden Boys disassociation with Canelo kind of shaking things up. She's dealing with a lot of stuff that you probably dealt with in a different level. Would you offer any advice from your context?
The main thing is stay focused. Don't let yourself go. Don't gain 20 pounds. No matter what's going on, you got to go to the gym every day and do something. Do a little running. Watch what you're eating. Keep your weight down. So when it's time to get boosted up training, you'll be ready. But the main thing is don't get frustrated and don't give up. Just stay in shape.
I think
Thank you.
Transferable to all of us right now is we got to stay focused and not get too frustrated. The other thing you two have in common, as Mr. Griffin mentioned in his book, the rumor is, Seniesa, you're aspiring to be an author yourself.
Yes, for children's books that I'm writing.
Yeah. So what are the timelines on those? Is there anything out yet, or I tried to look for some pictures, but it wasn't out yet.
Definitely next year. So we're working on getting it published and illustrated. So they're just books about dreams and encouragement, and books that inspire kids. So I'm excited to share it.
Very cool.
Can't wait. And I got The Ice Life by Montell. I love the book. Honestly, anybody who likes boxing, it's a great read. And I told him myself, the 3 Ali camps are a book in themselves. If he ever wanted to write another one, nobody has that experience. I don't know anybody else on this earth who could say that. And he was lucky. He was a little kid. Anybody else that was older would be so old now they couldn't tell you or be long gone. So I'm telling you, like that's something special that I don't care what. You can't replace that with anything on this earth that's better than going to training camp with Muhammad Ali.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
Muhammad Ali is what inspired me.
And I never forget it. My father is the greatest just because he was cool enough to be with Ali. And like I said, he just said one day we're going to go see that guy. I was 5 years old. I met him. And from 5 to 13, I was at Muhammad Ali's house once a month or whatever. He'd come by the gym and hang out. We'd go to the camp and everything. It was just great, man. It's just sad that my father passed away and I kind of lost contact with him.
Mm-hmm. Well, he was an inspiration to so many, myself included. He kind of drove me back to the sport and into the sport when I was young, and then back to when I rebooted kind of and did it. So what we're talking about moving forward, though, is a unique context. Now, each of you are going to come from a different perspective. Montell, as a retired fighter, how do you feel about seeing two fighters like this come out of retirement this far out or this far past their last fight? I know Roy was somewhat active, but what's the first thought that goes to your head when you think of a fight like this?
Maybe because of the pandemic and coronavirus and everything we've been through, and this has been a crazy year. I really don't have a problem with Roy and Mike. I feel if they both can go to the doctor and pass a physical, then I don't have no problem with it. But it's not gonna be an exhibition, and I hope nobody get hurt. It's gonna be Mike Tyson get in that ring. So as soon as he get hit, it's gonna become a fight. So it's something that, I mean, Mike Tyson one of the most loved athletes in history. Mm-hmm. And he had 1,000 fans, and people, I mean, it's sad, but people just can't wait for him to go in there and just try to knock Roy out. I didn't heard it, I didn't seen it.
Yeah.
So, how's your relationship with Roy now? When you see him, are you good? You guys get along?
Oh yeah. I pick his brain once a month.
Good.
Ask him a question, you know what I'm saying? Whatever the see was on his mind. And we talked about this fight and everything, and his game plan and everything. I mean, Stevie Wonder know what his game plan is. He can't stand in front of Mike Tyson. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna have to land some shots, step around, keep moving, and the longer the fight goes, better for Roy.
Yeah, and Montell, so I just want to say I love the way you interact with like the kids, the youth, like the basketball players, the young basketball players, and boxers in your town. The boost of confidence you give them with your involvement, it must be an amazing experience having an Olympian, former world champion that backs them up like you do. That's so commendable when I see that all the time. I really love when I see that.
All right, thank you very much, man. I just I just try to get back. I just try to get back to the kids the way Ali and other guys helped me out when I was a kid.
Everyone says they want to get back, but he's literally at like youth basketball games and youth boxing matches with kids he's not related to. They're just like, he absolutely means it. And everyone says it, but no one does anything about it. But he absolutely means it, and that's something that I admire greatly.
And Seniesa, your books, it seems to have a theme. They have a theme about approaching dreams and or at least like conquering goals and all that stuff. Anything in particular? Is it coming from like your personal experience?
Definitely from personal experiences. Personal experiences in boxing or just outside of the ring. And just things that kids go through on a daily basis, and any race and different races, different ages, and it's also books about making kids confident no matter what they look like or what the color of their skin is. So it varies with different things each book.
Yeah, I believe very much that boxing, the sport, is punctuated by inclusion, and I think it's important that no matter what you try to do, it's punctuated by inclusion. And in this sport, I think especially has the foundation to do it, which I think is such a powerful thing. So going back to the fight coming up here in November, Seniesa, as a younger fighter, probably looked up to him to some capacity. I'm sure you've gone down, just like my daughter goes down Seniesa Estrada rabbit holes. Everybody has a tendency of going down the Roy Jones Tyson road. What are your thoughts about this fight? Is this intriguing to you? Do you have any bold predictions of any kind?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. It's a fight that I don't mind watching, and like Montell said, Roy just needs to make the fight go as long as he can, and hopefully it doesn't turn into a dog fight, because I wouldn't want to see that for sure.
Is it a 12-round fight or is it a 10-round fight? Because I know they're using 16-ounce gloves. But
I'm not sure. It might be 10.
It's
right?
just eight 2-minute rounds.
Eight
2-minute rounds.
That's gonna help Roy a lot.
Definitely, yeah. And
it's gonna help Mike.
You think it's gonna help Mike?
Yeah, it's gonna help Mike.
Yeah, actually,
Mike's
you think about it, he has a shorter time. He won't get exhausted later. Yeah, actually, you're right. It's gonna hurt Roy because he can't tire him out. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Montell's right.
Yeah.
One of the quotes I heard Roy say the other day was that his entire life boxing, he was always told that your speed and your legs go first, and your power goes last. And he's presuming that his speed and legs might be a little bit less than Tyson's power, so he knows that he needs to kind of get out of the way, which I thought was an interesting take on it. So, I mean, regardless, it's going to be dynamic. It's going to be, it's going to bring that 15, 16-year-old in me out. Super excited about
for
it.
Sure.
Can't wait.
This craziness is actually happening. I'm not stoked about the undercard. I'm just going to put that out there publicly. I love the dude Jack, but I'm not a big fan of the gamers and the influencers getting on the cards like that. That's just not my thing. I think it diminishes the work that you guys put in from the amateur standpoint. 100 fights, Olympics, all that stuff for these guys that just get put on a card for a giant payday, regardless, to be quite honest.
And they fight like they've been boxing for 3 weeks. It's embarrassing to watch, but casual fans don't understand. That's terrible.
Mm-hmm. But they got 2 million followers, and that's really all that matters these days.
That's what you need. Yeah.
Well, listen, it was an absolute pleasure.
Let's get their prediction Let's just get their prediction.
I want to end with a prediction from each of you and shameless plug. Let's talk more about tell me how we get your books, what to expect next from you. We'll start with Mr. Griffin. Montell, why don't you go ahead? What's your prediction?
I'm just gonna be honest with you. Same thing. I talked to Roy. If it's 5 rounds or more, I got Roy. 5 rounds or less, I got Mike. I mean, I'm just gonna be honest.
That's fair. All right.
Yeah, that makes all the sense in the world.
Anything you want to talk about? Anything you're doing? The organizations you're working with? Tell us how we get your book.
You can get it. There you go. You're back. So I was telling them I got the book on Amazon.com. You can get it there. And then you're on social media constantly. They can follow you on social media. And I'll put a link up later for the book. But honestly, it's a great book.
Awesome. Well, it's Miss Superbad. I'm going to call you Miss Superbad.
The Ice Light Book, the IceLightBook.com.
You got
it. Okay, the IceLightBook.com. Okay,
awesome.
Perfect. And then it'll cut out the middleman. Amazon, he'll make a little more on it. So let's do it that way. Thank you, Montell.
We'll get that going down our little ticker and broadcast when we go live. So Miss Superbad, I actually just purchased a Superbad. Well, how about
Seniesa's prediction? Yep, Seniesa's prediction.
Yeah. So I was gonna.
You guys know.
But go ahead. What do you think?
You guys know I always have Roy's back, so I'm going with Roy Jones.
All right.
Yeah. And yeah, the children's book, you can look out for them in 2021. Also this Friday I'm hosting my first annual golf tournament, and it'll be all to raise money towards my very first toy drive that I'm doing in December for East Los Angeles, where I grew up.
Wow, amazing. That's great. Well, like I said, I ordered the RCVA Superbad 18-0 t-shirt. I was hoping I'd have it by now, but I got a little delayed, so I promise I'll rock it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Thank you.
I'm a big fan of you, both of you guys. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for coming on the Barefoot and Guapo inaugural show. Much love to both of you, and enjoy the fights and the rest of your year. Be safe for the rest of 2020.
Anytime. Thank you so much. Bye, Uncle.
Bye, favorite niece. Bye, Montell. Thank you.
See you guys. Take care, man. We had a great time talking to Montell Griffin and Seniesa Estrada. Earlier today, we had an even cooler time talking to the great Dwight Gooden for his perspective, just being a legendary athlete around the same time as those guys were on top, Tyson and Jones. So make sure you stick around and listen to that interview as well.
Doc, how you been, buddy?
Good. What's happening, guys? How's everything?
Great. Yeah. So we want to talk to you a little bit about the Mike Tyson thing. But before we do, I want to introduce you. Everybody knows who you are. Rookie of the Year, Cy Young Award winner, pitched a no-hitter, World Series champion, multi-time All-Star. one of the most popular players in Mets history, and later a great Yankee as well. And welcome aboard, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me.
Pleasure.
All great stuff.
Pleasure.
How's everything?
My name is Jason Scalzo. I'm going to leave the Yankee part out of your history because that's not as relevant as your Met part. But it is an absolute honor. The 12-year-old inside me right now is geeking out. I'm so excited to be talking to you, and I appreciate your time.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you guys for having me. The Yankees organization is great. I appreciate the Steinbrenners for all the opportunity they gave me and the things they've done for me and my family. But you can blame the Whoop-ons for that happening. I want to be a Met.
Deal.
Nothing against the nation, but
That's
blame the Whoop-ons.
That's good to know. All right.
So, and then we were talking before that somebody who's intertwined with Mike Tyson forever would be you. You were on top of the world at the same time. There's so many pictures that are still popular with him at Shea Stadium and everything else. And Jason will take it from here with some questions for you regarding that. But I mean, you definitely were on top at the same time, and both bigger than life characters that have stayed that way pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. Still to the day, we're still good friends. I actually saw him last year. Was in Long Island doing an autograph signing together. We still talk from time to time, and we became good friends in '86. He actually came to Shea Stadium with his entourage to take batting practice, and I don't think he fouled the ball off.
Did you pitch to him? Did you? No, would have been the best.
No, I didn't pitch to him. I was just there watching. We had one of our BP pitchers throwing to him, batting practice pitchers. And I don't think he fouled the ball off. And the thing that was amazing was that was my first time meeting him. And he said to me and Daryl, he goes, "I'm Mike Tyson. I'm going to be the next champion of the world." And under my breath, I'm thinking, yeah, right. Who's this guy? You know? But little did I know, a couple months later, I don't know if it was Trevor Burbick or I don't know if it was Larry.
Yeah, Trevor Burbick. Yep.
Trevor Burbick became, the world champion, and the rest was history. And about 4 or 5 months after that, we ran into each other in the city, place the China Club where everybody's going Monday nights. And from that point, we became good friends and started hanging out ever since, and still to today.
Good. When you first met him, he was the baddest man on the planet, right? Like he had this allure about him where you can't come near him, you can't touch him. My sense, and after reading so much on him, his books and his interviews, and how he's recreated himself, was he as fierce of an individual once you got to know him, or was he just kind of guy's guy?
I think when I first met him, he was real quiet. Once he became champion, we started hanging out. Great guy. I mean, real nice guy if you know him. A lot of times people are always approaching him, trying to grab him, trying to get autographs, pulling for him. It was something that I don't think he was quite accustomed to or used to, and it became annoying to him. So he'll get aggressive at times. But if you got to know him, a tremendous guy, nice guy, do anything for you. And so, I love him. I love him like a brother. And he has changed. I know he's been through a lot, so have myself. But the way he's bounced back and try to help others, mentor younger people with his boxing, gym and doing certain things. And I'm excited to see his comeback in the ring. And I'm always a fan, obviously. I just want him to stay healthy and be safe.
Well, before we go any further, people watching at home, rule number 1, don't reach and grab on the heavyweight champion of the world at any point in time. It doesn't make sense. Let's just be clear with that. You mentioned his ascent to the top. You were kind of along the lines in 86, you win a World Series. He becomes champion. The tale with Trevor Burbick is Trevor Burbick was the one who retired Muhammad Ali. So Muhammad Ali came into the ring and he whispered into Tyson's ear, "Get this one for him," and it didn't end well for Trevor Burbick. So we all know what happened as his career. What are your thoughts on how he's reinvented himself? Like, I mean, his persona, whether it was the one-man show on Broadway or the Hangover movies and stuff like that. I mean, he's done
a cartoon, the Mike Tyson Mysteries. I got that on DVD. I love it. I watch it all the time.
I mean, as a friend, you got to be pretty proud on how he's been able to reinvent himself.
Oh, definitely. And the thing that I like that he's doing now, he's showing his other side, his personality. He has a great personality. He loves himself. He don't take himself too serious. I think at one time people had made him come out to be this person that he really wasn't deep inside. And then he started believing this person, if I'm making sense. Now he gets to enjoy his life. He's a family man first. And we get to see the part of him enjoying his life, which I'm happy to see, because I think when he was world champion, He really can go nowhere. I don't think he really was enjoying himself as much as he's doing now. And when he said reinventing himself with the things he's doing now, the one man stand, I thought that was great. I went to a couple of those shows to see him talk about it, and then now he's getting a couple movies, Hangover, and then he had his podcast, and now he's getting back into the ring, something that he really loves, and that's what made him who he are. But that's where his passion is. The same thing, not to get off the subject, but if my shoulder was still good, if I was in half the shape he's in, I would try to go help the Mets out this year. But
we'll get to that.
In the shape he is in. My career is definitely, but I'm pulling for him.
Well, we'll definitely get that.
What do you think? What do you think? Like, what are you hoping to see from it? You're gonna just a good time. I mean, I hope that these two old guys don't try to kill each other. What are your expectations?
Well, Roy Jones is a Florida guy. I've known him a little bit. We ran across each other a couple of times. I'm from Florida myself. I just like to see a good fight. Hopefully, which I don't think they will. And knowing Mike, I don't think they're getting embarrassed themselves by being too out of shape or throwing wild punches. But the thing is, once you get in a situation like that, the competitiveness comes out. It doesn't matter if it's exhibition or not. So I think these guys are going to definitely go at each other. It's probably good that no fans will be there, because having fans in the stands right now, I think, or in the arena, would definitely bring more energy. And these guys would definitely probably try to do more than they're capable of doing. But I think without having live fans there, even though, you got pay-per-view, will help some for the adrenaline going. But I think knowing Mike, once he gets in the ring, I think exhibition, all that stuff is out the window. He's going to try to destroy this guy.
And I never thought about that. Makes perfect sense, though. No fans. Mike Tyson's excitable. Fans screaming for him would be a dangerous situation. That's a great point. No one's ever brought up yet.
Well, you brought up a point earlier, Doc. You brought up a point earlier that I think it's something you can relate to. You said that a lot of people kind of misunderstand him as a person, and I think there are times in your career that you might have felt the same way. People kind of had a narrative about you as a pitcher and as a person that wasn't really congruent with who you were actually as a human. And you can argue that at your heyday, you were just as feared on the mound as Tyson was in the ring, right? So as a retired athlete with that type of dominance in the background, how does it feel to see somebody coming out of retirement? And what does that give you? I know as a competitor, you see two people, Tyson and Jones, at one point in time were arguably the two best in their field, finally going at it. How does that, as an athlete like yourself at your level, how does that make you feel? I mean, is it motivating? Is it worrisome? Is it what are your instincts?
That's a great question. And I think watching that and seeing what Tyson's doing and seeing his training videos and things like that, this might sound strange, but it actually helped motivate me to get in better shape. Not necessarily to make a comeback or anything like that, but to take better care of myself, from dieting properly and just getting, back in the gym for its conditioning. Because when you're an athlete, obviously you train to perform and keep your job. Once we get older, I think we should be training more because of health reasons, to try to take care of yourself. So I would say what they're doing now definitely motivated me to take better care of myself for getting back in some type of shape, getting rid of this gut I have, and trying to eat right. But what they're doing is amazing, because especially with boxing, at their age and with the layoffs they've had for, 10 years or what have you, to train and get back into it, because boxing, the training is totally different than obviously any other sport. I mean, it's tough. I mean, you got to go every day. You're training, no sex. The diet's got to be right. I mean, it takes a lot of mental, dedication and preparation for that. So I give those guys a lot of credit for that.
Well, now you're not unfamiliar with brawling, and we all have seen the clips, my man. We've seen on both sides of the coin, right? There's a famous clip, I think, of you actually charging at the Phillies and the Phillies charging at you and all that stuff. I mean, when competitive juices start flowing, it's tough to cuff the government, right?
That's true.
So my question, this will be a brain teaser for you, brain popper, because I have an answer, but I want to see if we're on the same line. And I've written it down just in case. If you had the same opportunity to get one at bat, you pitch, they hit for one time, who would that be? Who would that competitor that has got one? If you have one more chance,
if I get one more chance to face a one hitter, I would probably say Chili Davis. That was the guy that wore me out. I mean, I couldn't get him out when he was with the San Francisco Giants. and I was with the Mets. This guy had my number, and then later in our career, I went to Cleveland in 98, 99, and he came to the Yankees. The same thing. I could not get him out. I would love to have one more crack at Chili just to say I got him out that one time. And it's amazing because I go down to the Mets spring training every year, and Chili's the hitting instructor there, and we talked about that. How much he hit me, and I was trying to tell him, let's go on a bike field or something. I just want to face you one time. So he would be my guy to face, or my nephew, Gary Sheffield.
Oh, that's right. That's right, Gary Sheffield. Well, you know who my answer would have been? Lenny Dykstra.
Lenny Dykstra.
I loved when you battled against Lenny Dykstra because he had that like short, compact swing that he would always put the bat on the ball. Wouldn't go very far sometimes, but he would always put the bat on the ball. And he can be an excitable dude too. But yeah. So of any genre or any era of sports right now, I would assume. Did you do any other sports besides baseball, or were you?
Coming up as a kid, I played football. I played basketball, obviously, like during the off season when I was with the Mets to stay in shape because I wasn't the type of guy that just go out and run and do the things pitchers normally do. So I played a lot of basketball, just to stay in shape. That helped a lot. But as a kid, I played football. Unfortunately, I got my left wrist broke when I was 13 years old. And Mom said that was the end of that. So I just
might be a good thing, right? Might be a good thing. It worked out fine, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And especially, growing up in Florida, the weather's always great, so you could play, year round. Even when baseball wasn't going on, we would play different neighborhoods and different things like that. So it's a lot of fun.
What's that?
Go ahead.
Now, I was gonna say, do you follow? Well, I'm gonna first ask you about baseball, but do you follow like the current? Not just maybe the Mets, but just baseball in general. Do you have any particular fans or players that you're a fan of?
Oh, definitely. I'm a huge baseball fan, and I was one of the few guys that when I was playing, I would rush home and listen to games on the radio because they didn't have all the networks back then, just to see what's going on the West Coast teams. And now with all the networks, I love baseball. I get the MLB package, basketball, football. I love all sports. And I guess guys now, CeCe was my guy. Unfortunately, he retired because I got to meet CeCe in '98. He was in the minor leagues with the Indians when I was there. We became good friends. And this guy, Tristan, who just got called up with Cleveland, he's from Brooklyn, went to school in Florida. He's a pitcher, young pitcher. He reminds me a lot of myself when I first came up at that age and the same size. I probably follow him probably more so now. And I could be a little biased, and I follow all the Met pitchers for sure. DeGrom's a guy. Matt Harvey, when he was healthy with the Mets, he was my favorite once I retired. So now all the Met pitchers I love, Syndergaard, and I'll say DeGrom's right there. But Tristan, it's a shame I can never remember his last name, but he's a young pitcher, black pitcher with the Indians. Just got called up this year. Young guy. He's my guy that I'm really following now, and we actually it's changed numbers, and so we stay in contact as well.
Oh man, that must have been incredible for him. Must have been incredible. Well, what about boxing? Have you tracked boxing at all? Do you have any young fans or young prospects that you're a fan of?
Actually, I really don't follow boxing as much now. My era was when, like, obviously Tyson, Holyfield, Duran, Sugar Ray, those guys. When they was fighting, it was Thomas Hearns, Michael.
That's when they all fought each other. That's when they fought each other 4 or 5 times. There was no contract disputes. Everybody. There was a great quote by Mike Tyson actually, and he was just like, "All these guys nowadays are businessmen. I was a killer." And
that's true. Now it's totally different now. That's what all sports, I think. Even baseball now, these guys, they have the same agents. They work out together during the off season. Doing all era. We didn't fraternize with the other team. We didn't talk to anybody. We didn't go out to eat with nobody. It was none of that stuff. We hated everybody. That's just the way it was. Now it's a totally different era, I think, in all sports.
Yeah.
So what do you think is going to happen when Tyson and Jones get in the ring together?
Oh man, I just hope they both come out healthy. Number one.
Me too.
Well, I tell you what, I'm actually a Tyson fan. Tyson was always my favorite boxer because I know him. But I think also he's got to be careful because Roy Jones is pretty quick. I've seen his tapes too, so you got to make sure you don't get caught. I'm sure these guys will be good. I'm looking forward to watching them. But the main thing, I just hope they come out clean. But I'm picking Tyson to win.
You heard it here first.
All the sense in the world.
Yes, thanks.
One of the most dangerous step on a mound is calling call him Victor for the dangerous man on the planet. I dig it. I'm all aboard.
Anything you want to add, Dwight? What do you got going? Anything good going on that you want to talk about? Any projects you want to mention?
Right now, we just we're getting ready to set up some programs for kids in Long Island. I just moved from New Jersey back to New York. We're gonna do training. Like we're gonna do a Christmas program for kids. A lot of the money gonna be donated to charities for teen kids that's struggling with addiction. I'm involved with that. Also, I'm involved with Hackensack Hospital for cancer patients. When they're making progress, or the families get their mind off of their loved ones, we'll be taking them to some games next year or whenever they start having fans there again. Just trying to give back the best way I can and keep myself busy. There's a lot of people there that supported me through my ups and downs, and I'm just trying to return the favor.
Amazing. Yeah. Amazing. I cannot tell you how much of a pleasure it is, and how most of my family will be extremely jealous that this happened. Thank you so much for your time and all the amazing work you're doing in Long Island. I wish you all the best, and thank you for your time on Barefoot and Guapo.
And it would have been so much easier to get together here in Piscataway, but I'm gonna come over there and I'm gonna come visit next. Like when the pandemic's over, we're gonna come take you to lunch.
Oh, please do. Let's get together. And Thank you guys for having me. And you guys keep up the good work.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Zach. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you very much, Seniesa Superbad Estrada, Montell Ice Griffin, and Dwight Dr. K. Gooden. We are honored and privileged to have you on, gave your insights for the Roy Jones Mike Tyson fight upcoming, and it was a pleasure all around.
Yeah, definitely appreciate the support for the Barefoot and Guapo. If you want to see additional episodes, please go to scenesnobs.com. Check us out. We air live on Thursday, 9 o'clock. After that, you can download us and watch us all the time if you'd like. Absolute pleasure. Guapo, till next time, we'll talk. Much love. Thank you very much.
See you next time.